Hello and welcome to my Halo 3 Final Thoughts discussion video. Not even discussion, I don't know why I keep saying it's a discussion. I'm monologuing the whole time.
Did I ever tell you that?
But yeah, I mean, I don't really know where to start, other than the fact that I love this entire game, really. It's just awesome from bottom to top, with a few things that kind of just bug me in between. The beginning of the game is actually pretty interesting. The way they started off, it is Cortana monologuing about choosing the chief because he had luck, whereas the other Spartans were various things that he also had, but he had luck, so that's why she picked him. But after Halo Reach was released, that basically changed the story so that when Cortana met the Master Chief, she had to have only been a couple hours old. So I don't see how she could have chose the Chief unless I just don't know something. Maybe there's something else in some of the books or something that I just haven't caught. I don't know. Maybe I'm misinformed, but I don't see how that really is Cortana. Maybe it's Dr. Halsey, actually. I never really thought about that.
How far did he fall?
But I digress.
2 kilometers, easy. Stay sharp.
And after exiting the Forerunner ship, you plummet down to the Earth on a door, of all things, and you smack into the ground pretty hard, basically. And as is the tradition with Halo games, they have to figure out a way to shoehorn in the little up and down, left and right tutorial for looking. In Halo 3 it was only up and down like once or twice, I think. And after you kick off the training wheels, the Arbiter actually shows up. And I love the way they actually introduced the Arbiter, having him just show up camouflaged, all mysterious like, and he doesn't know that the Master Chief doesn't know about the alliance between the elites and the UNSC. So, naturally, as soon as the Master Chief sees the Arbiter, he goes to blow his brains out, basically. But luckily, Johnson stops him in time. One thing I did definitely notice about Johnson in Halo 3 was his facial expression. He just looks like he is so intense all the time. By far, one of the more annoying things about Halo 3 has to be when you're walking along and then you have your little Cortana / Gravemind seizure moment things, or whatever the hell they are. Especially if you actually end up being in the middle of combat. It doesn't ever happen with the Cortana ones, but a couple times with the Gravemind talking to you, I'll end up being around some flood or something, and they're attacking me while I can't even move or look or anything, so it's like, why? This is gonna get me killed. Fuck. And as usual, I did play with the some skulls on in this game. What? I don't recall the name. Might be Catch. I believe it's still called Catch in Halo 3. I don't recall the name of the skull, but I believe it is Catch. And the grunts are so insane with the grenades in Halo 3 when you have that skull on, especially on Crow's Nest. You walk into that first hallway and there's like 10 grunts there, and they all throw grenades at the same time. It's like just slightly overwhelming. I definitely enjoyed the second level of Halo 3, going to Crow's Nest and fighting through this old 20th century military base I believe, yes, you were clearing out a hangar base so some Pelicans could evacuate, and then you had to go back to the ops center, then go to the barracks, then go back to the ops center. Lots and lots of going back and forth in that level, but it was really fun. It was cool seeing the older human architecture of the military base, and it was actually pretty interesting how at the beginning of the cutscene for that level they kind of put in those Marines sitting there, and when they see the Master Chief walk in, they all get pretty excited, and that actually kind of brings up that inspiration that just seeing a Spartan could actually bring to the normal people, and that propaganda that the UNSC was pushing out during the war. One thing I am still just utterly confused at is after, let's see, I believe it is the Prophet of Truth. Yes. After the Prophet of Truth talks to them and bitches,
Give the order. We're closing shop.
you know, boasts about how awesome he is. The Master Chief.
Getting all of them out.
Captain Keys. Not Captain Keys. Commander Keys. Jeez. I can't get anything right now. But yeah, Commander Keys, she walks up the stairs and says, "Go to war."
To war.
Like, that's supposed to make any sense. They're asking for a destination, not a speech. And like I say in the video, yeah, she walks up the stairs and she pulls the slat on her pistol, and then she immediately walks back down the stairs and goes back to where she was before. I don't really think Bungie thought that through too much. Fighting through Crow's Nest with those skulls on was an incredible pain in the ass. I think at a couple points I ended up just doing nothing but throwing grenades at the enemy, since that's all they were doing to me. Like, fine, fuck, fight grenades with grenades. Show you what's what. Definitely the best Easter egg in all of Halo 3 has to be the red versus blue Easter egg on Crow's Nest, of course, and with each difficulty level you're on, it is different characters. I believe on Legendary it's Caboose, and I believe it's Caboose and Church, but I don't remember. But that's definitely got to be like my favorite Easter egg in this entire game, just because it actually gives reference to red versus blue. Coming back to the Arbiter, I like the way that they, at least in the single player campaign, added him in. Like, he wasn't always with you, but on certain parts of the campaign he would join you and fight alongside you, and then he would wait back and then join you again at certain points again in the level. But then if you played co-op, then he would constantly be with you, because you have the other player playing with you, and they played as the Arbiter. And what was also really cool is during the cutscenes, if you were playing co-op, it showed the Arbiter and the Master Chief. That's always one thing that, I mean, it's a silly nitpick, but it was kind of a nitpick of mine of Halo 2 and Halo 1. If you're playing co-op, and it's like, why can't it show two Spartans? Couldn't they just put another Spartan in the background somewhere? But I understand that didn't really go with the story, so couldn't really do that. But having the Arbiter in the background could go with the story in Halo 3, so that's why they did that. And just like in Halo 2, I definitely showed how if you give the Marines the right weapons, they can do some pretty good shit. Like in well, I didn't really have any Marines with me very long in Crow's Nest, but when I was rescuing the ones in the barracks, I was trying to give them all decent weapons, at least something that was better than what they had. And they all did pretty decently well, especially with the catch skull on. They were all throwing grenades like crazy too, so it was a big help for me. And I suppose in a way, Savo Highway was probably Halo 3's driving level, since you essentially spend the entire level driving around. Again, it is in more of a linear fashion, unlike Halo from Halo CE, because in that you actually get to go to the different fort areas to rescue the Marines in whatever order you feel like doing. But in this level, it's, you know, one straight path forward that you gotta go to. That's not really a downside or anything, just something different. But it is cool though, because you get all of these extra Marines to travel with you, and they are capable of driving the Warthogs themselves. And again, I took advantage of actually trading weapons with them. I would give them sniper rifles or rockets, whatever heavy weapons I could find, and I wouldn't even bother taking them, because they got the infinite ammo, and if they could use those power weapons, then it was a help to me, especially having them in the Warthogs. And then trying to get them into choppers too, that was pretty awesome. I think at one point on Savo Highway, I actually had 3 Warthogs. I think I had 2 the Warthogs with the turrets, and then the troop Warthog too. I had a lot of vehicles gathered up in my convoy throughout this level. I think it was actually the most I had ever done in any time ever playing this level. And just being able to have the Marines and all the vehicles, that made it so much fun. So it was definitely a really awesome driving level in its own right. 'Cause, I mean, Halo was an awesome level as well, but you couldn't have Marines with you, you couldn't give them weapons, you couldn't have all the vehicles, you couldn't have as many characters on the screen at one time, so it has its inherent downsides compared to the Halo 3's level. And there are very few speeches that I would put up there with the, oh gosh, I don't remember his name, in the movie, the president from Independence Day. I don't remember, like, that speech he made in that movie, that's awesome, and there are very few speeches I put in that list, but this speech by Lord Hood at the end of Salva Highway is right there. It is awesome. It just really gives you that feeling of like, alright, yeah, we're gonna go kick some fucking Covenant ass. I love the one final effort. And after Salva Highway, we get to, let's see, I believe this level is called The Storm. I almost wanted to call it Voy, because it's in the city of Voy, but I know it's not that. But essentially, your mission for this is just, you know, destroy a whole bunch of anti-air batteries, and in the process, you have to take out some anti-air wraiths, and... Oh yes, the Scarab. I forgot about the Scarab. Taking out that Scarab was it was quite the big pain in the ass throughout this playthrough, because I was pretty determined to land on top of that Scarab. I didn't want to take it out the conventional way and drive up to that ledge up above and then jumping onto the Scarab. That's fun shit. Although having an idiot Marine on my Mongoose didn't really make it any easier. There were a couple times there he basically blew us up. And then I think there was also one time when I was going to land on the Scarab, and then the Scarab decided to be a funny little asshole, and he steps back and backs up at the last second and just smacked into the ground. But I do think I eventually ended up getting that Scarab that way, though. I landed on top of the Scarab and took it out and then jumped off. So I eventually accomplished my goal. Doesn't matter if it took 6 tries. And I never noticed this before, but at one point the Scarab launches a grunt up in the air. What the hell? Just what? He landed on the Scarab too. Wow. I knew what the hell? God, Halo 3's physics. Halo 3's physics were definitely... It was definitely one of the best things about that game too. Just the way the bodies moved and the way the vehicles moved. Everything moved in a funny way, I guess. I don't really know how to describe it properly. One thing I definitely like about the Storm is being able to have all those construction workers fight with you. And it's like, it's kind of funny actually. You give the construction workers like the sniper rifles and fuel rods and stuff. But it sucks because they die so much faster than the Marines, it seems like. And as soon as you see them, or as soon as you see those hunters, there's like 10 of those construction workers running away, but then all of them get killed immediately. I almost wonder if there's a way to save them, maybe. Then you can get a whole army of construction workers running around with you. That was definitely one of my goals throughout this entire campaign. It was trying to keep the Marines alive, trying to keep the construction workers alive, because I wanted to have that extra help, because they always have the power weapons. And it's like if I'm running out of ammo, I can just give it to one of them, and boom, problem solved. And it wasn't until I remember when Halo 3 first premiered on TV, this was back in like 2006, I think, and it was essentially the ending cutscene to the Storm, but instead of human ships flying over, it was Covenant ships flying over, and it was essentially that device activating, and what am I trying to get at here? What they were trying to get at in the commercial was like, that's the arc possibly, and shit just hit the fan. But it was pretty cool once I actually played this game and saw that cutscene. I finally noticed, I was like, oh wait, that's actually what that is there. It was pretty interesting to note that all of those Aegis Fates attacked not the Covenant, Foreigner Dreadnought, and it didn't even leave a scratch on it. That's pretty sad and terrifying, actually. And I gotta wonder, all those ships were disabled after the teleporter gets activated. Did they all crash and like blow up? Because it never shows anything like that happening. Because yeah, they definitely get disabled. You can see they're falling after, like at the end of the cutscene, but you don't see any crash, and I don't really know what to think of that. I'd hope they didn't crash, I guess. And if they ever are going to decide to make a Halo 3 anniversary, I really hope that they don't totally redo the cinematics. I know a lot of people really like the way that Blur does the cinematics, but for Halo 3, I would really just like them to visually upgrade everything. I love the art style and I love the way it all looks. I think it could do with a little brushing up, I suppose. And then, yeah, at the very end of that cutscene, you get to discover that there's Flood coming to Earth. Wonderful. And my biggest hang-up with Floodgate really is just the fact that it is such a damn short level. I mean, really. Like, Floodgate is probably one of the more fun levels in Halo 3, because it has Flood in it, and it's in a human city. Like, that really just amplifies the terrifying effect and the fun in it, in my opinion. But the level is so freaking short, because all you're doing is retracing your steps back from the level before, and you're not even going nearly as far as you were before. So it's like, yeah, it's a fun level, but it could have definitely been longer. And definitely one of the funnest parts for this level, aside from trying to keep all the Marines alive. As much of a challenge as that was, it was very fun too. But, because actually, yeah, before I get to what I'm going to say next, yeah, you never get another chance to fight against the Flood with the Marines. This is your only time. I mean, you do for a little bit on the Covenant, but not very long at all. I mean, it's like one area that there's Flood and Marines in, and that's it. And that's only some of the time. I mean, this entire level is Marines versus Flood. But of course, having Catch, they had to blow themselves up. But yes, what I was going to get to before, yeah, it's fun playing with the Marines and everything, but it's a lot more fun fighting with the Elites, because they're pretty freaking awesome. It's cool playing with the Elites as the Master Chief, I think. That's like the coolest part of it. And then having I Would Have Been Your Daddy on, it makes the Elites chatter pretty funny. And I think at one point they were doing nothing but throwing grenades non-stop on this level too, because of the Catch skull. So it's like, on one hand you get the enemies constantly throwing grenades at you, and that's a total pain in the ass, but then on the other hand you get your allies constantly throwing grenades, and that can also kind of be a pain in the ass too, because you can't move up. And after you actually find the crashed ship, and it's interesting, you start this level out going to the ship to overload its reactor, but you never end up doing that. You just grab Cortana and then you get out of there, and the Elites start glassing the continent. You come to the realization that the Flood are coming to Earth with an army and the Gravemind in High Charity, and Cortana's telling you that you need to go through the Ark to stop them, but Lord Hood thinks everybody should stay at Earth, but the Shipmaster knows better. Because as he says, a single flood spore can destroy an entire species. He's the right person to be saying that. He is damn well experienced with the Flood. Then I love the end of the cutscene when it shows Scott Johnson walking by the Elites with the Covenant weapons, and then the Arbiter walks past the Marines with some human weapons, and then the Monitor decides to get up into Marine's face. Why does he do that? But then the following cutscene at the beginning of the arc, that's awesome because it shows, I mean, you get kind of a glimpse of this huge space battle, and you can tell the Elites are hugely outmatched, or hugely outnumbered, but of course, the Shipmaster says it's a completely even fight. Yeah, I gotta say, the Shipmaster is like my favorite, he's not my favorite Elite, like, the Arbiter is definitely my favorite Elite. Shipmaster is a close second, though. And then I'd say Jeffrey is my third favorite Elite. I think Jeffrey is his name. It was from the Mona Lisa, and I digress again. But yes, I love this cutscene because you get to see, the space battle going on while the Pelican's going down and down onto the Ark, and you get to see the landscape. And again, this all goes back to my comment earlier about the art style behind this game. I loved the art style so much. I feel like 90% of the backgrounds were done really well. I mean, even for being by today's standards, it looks kind of blocky and pixelated. I don't give a shit. I still think it looks pretty. The Ark, though, that was a long ass level. Like, if they could have made Floodgate that long, then it would have been insane. The Ark is it's a combination of sniping and vehicular madness, and then storming through close quarters. the Ark really does kind of have a little bit of everything in it. And it's really awesome getting to start off the level with the ODSTs. That's probably my favorite part about the Ark too. Oh, and the Ark is actually the first level where you actually get access to the terminals in this game. And the terminals, the first time I played through this game, I thought the terminals were the coolest way to add in a little bit of a side story to the game, because you could activate the terminal. Some of them you had to do something before you could activate it, but you'd activate it and you could read through it, but then an error message would pop up and it would block you out from doing anything else. And typically a lot of people would just kind of be like, okay, whatever, I gotta back out. But I don't remember how it came about. I'm sure someone probably just sat down and waited for it, but you just sit there and wait long enough and the error message goes away, and then you can actually keep reading through more pages. And it was really cool because it goes into detail about, I believe it was mendicant bias, and how he is actually talking to the chief and he's influencing the chief and everything he's doing on the Ark. And I guess apparently mendicant bias, he's talking to the Master Chief. Everything he's doing is trying to make amends for betraying the Forerunners during the Forerunner Flood War, which would make sense. I mean, why not? And I do like the level of Covenant. The opening is kind of similar to, the Silent Cartographer from Halo CE. Beach landing, take out the enemies on the beach, and then you move up. But that's basically where the similarities between the two levels end. And it's interesting, when you're taking out the towers and everything, after you take out the first tower, it plays the radio message from Commander Keyes. She's talking about how the Arbiter took out the second one, and then they're waiting on Johnson's team, but Johnson's team is getting ambushed. And then Johnson gets captured, and the brutes take him so they can use him to activate the Halo array. And that kind of makes me think, they really must not have been able to have figured out a way to activate it without a human. Otherwise, they would have done it without Johnson. In Halo 2, they also needed Commander Keyes, so kind of makes sense to me that they really weren't sure what the hell they were doing, and they didn't want to actually try and figure it out. They were desperate, basically, so they just needed to get a human to do it as fast as possible. It's really cool towards the end of the level, though, when you're after you take out the two scarabs, and you go down into the, I don't know what to call that building. It's not a citadel, or I'll call it a control room, why not? Or control tower, I'll call it the control tower. But yeah, after you take out the scarabs and then you go inside the control tower, you find out you basically do not have the time. You don't have enough time to actually stop truth before the rings activate. But luckily, the Floods show up just in the nick of time, and you think they're actually going to kill you, but then the Gravemind tells you that he wants to help you stop them, because that's it's their foe. It's not just the Master Chief's foe. But of course, as soon as, the second you stop them, though, of course, yeah, the Gravemind turns on you and immediately tries to kill you, so that you have to make your escape to get out of there. And now that you stopped the Prophet of Truth, the new threat to stop is the Gravemind, because he's trying, he crashed High Charity on the Ark. He's trying to rebuild himself on the Ark, and he's trying to rebuild his flood forces again. And you can't just let that go. So the chief, at the end of the previous level, he discovers that the Ark is actually building a second Halo. So they actually have a way of stopping the flood without actually destroying the galaxy. So the Master Chief decides the easiest way is to go get Cortana and get her, because she's got the activation index from the original installation 04, and of course that's going to be, going and getting Cortana is going to be easier than having to wait however long it would have taken for the monitor to actually make a new index. And like I was talking about earlier, you get those really annoying seizure Gravemind discussion things. You also get Cortana a lot in this level too. And like I said earlier, it's extremely ignoring. ignoring. Oh my god, it's extremely annoying. But hearing the things that Cortana says in this level before you save her, and even when you actually do save her, it really kind of makes me. It really makes me think that the Gravemind implanted the logic plague inside of her, and it makes sense. It happened to Mendicant Bias after one encounter with the original Gravemind from the Forerunner Flood War, and Cortana spent like a full month and a half with Gravemind alone. I really don't think that she would be that much more formidable than Mendicant Bias. So it kind of leads me to believe that Cortana does have the logic plague, probably. By far the coolest thing about the level Cortana, though, I mean, it's all the way up at the end. If you're playing in single player, then at the very end of the level, you get to see that the Arbiter came in after you, and he wanted to help you get the hell out of there. And that's just kind of like that's really just like a huge sign of respect. And after the three of you actually, because Cortana, after the three of you barely make your escape in the partially flood infested Pelican, you make your way to the new Installation 04 so that you can go activate that ring. And lucky for the Master Chief, the Arbiter decides to fight alongside with him in this last fight. I always loved playing this level on Legendary because it was definitely challenging as hell, but it was cool getting to drive the ghosts at the end of the level. One thing I always like to do with my friends too is we'd get the ghosts, and then there were certain areas at the end of the level you could actually drive up the sides of the mountains and go totally off of the beaten path. I remember my sister and I used to play, we played every Halo together. We played Halo 3 by far more than any other Halo game, though. We played the online together all the time, and we played the campaign we played the campaign together all the time too. And we always did it on Legendary as well, because you had to make it challenging. And the last level, of course, when the Mythic Skulls, when those came out, my sister and I and two of our friends, we all played this last level together on Legendary with the Iron Skull, and I think it took us like 2 hours to get through it, but we eventually did. We were so happy after we did it. It was definitely a fun-ass experience, though. As difficult as it was, and frustrating as it was so much fun, and definitely something I'll probably remember for the rest of my life, because it was just fun shit. It is so freaking sad that Johnson dies. His bullshit. He just gets lasered by a fucking monitor. And then Johnson lasers him back. I love that. And again, with Halo 3 Anniversary, if they do ever decide to make Halo 3 Anniversary, I don't want them to redo all the cinematics. I'd really just like them to fix stuff up and brush things up. Especially in the last cutscene with Johnson. His lips are so incredibly out of sync. It isn't, oh my god, it's so bad. When he says, "Send me out with a bang," it is so bad. Like, the cutscene would be really, really good, but his lips are so out of sync, it really kind of makes it funny. And then again, of course, this is one thing I actually did like about Halo 2 Anniversary. Fixing their cutscene, they actually made the Master Chief not look like a weirdo when he runs, and again, in this cutscene here, he looks like a weirdo when he runs too, but whatever. And then, of course, after you activate Halo, you get your classic final level driving experience, go. And comparing to Halo CE's final level, I gotta say, I think I like this one more. Halo 3's final level, at least the driving sequence. There's a lot more to it. It's not quite as tight of a space to get through, and at times on the Pillar of Autumn, that was fucking ridiculous, especially having Catch-On and or whatever those skulls were. I don't remember the names of them, but I will say it would have been more the Halo 3's last level driving sequence would have been more interesting if you actually had a time limit you had to beat. That was one of the cool things about Halo 1's driving sequence on the end of the level, is it gave you like 7 minutes or whatever to get to the longsword before Halo activated. And what was even cooler is if you didn't beat the timer, I'm pretty sure there was a cutscene that still activated, but you were still on the ship or something. But that would be really cool if they actually had like a timer in Halo 3's final driving sequence level. Although, they don't have a time limit on the screen per se, but I guess there actually is a time limit, because if you're playing this on co-op and you have 4 people, then you need to have 2 people. You need to have 2 people in one Warthog and 2 other people in another Warthog, because Either you'd have 3 people in one and one driving without a turret. And the problem with that, though, is if one person starts to fall behind, then everything is falling off of the map. Everything is essentially falling out of the map. And if you're too far behind, you're not going to be able to catch up because stuff is going to start falling all over the place around you. So it's not like there's a time limit on the map per se, but there kind of is a time limit still. It's just not one you can see, I guess. So maybe, yeah, it's kind of a little bit more challenging in that sense. I love the ending cutscene of Halo 3 with the memorial. Although, it does surprise me that those are single-shot battle rifles. Like, what's up with that? It's really cool how the Arbiter's first words to the Master Chief in this game were it so easy? And then when Lord Hood says, it's hard to believe he's dead, and the Arbiter says, were it so easy? I just love that. It's a nice little touch adding the cutscene with the Shipmaster and the Arbiter afterwards too, talking about their own people. And Shipmaster, he wants to go back home to know if their world is safe too. And of course, the entire world is thinking the Master Chief is dead, but he ain't dead. Ha! His ship just wound up somewhere else in the galaxy. And there is speculation that was due to mendicant bias. I don't think there's anything official proving that, but it wouldn't surprise me. See, I'm guessing the Arbiter made it out of the portal, and then as his half was coming out, the portal must have shut down, and they ended up somewhere else in between. Either that or mendicant bias just totally redirected them somewhere else, I don't know. It's almost kind of sad, actually, because the Master Chief and Cortana end up being stranded out in space for Lord knows how long it could be for them to be before they're rescued. I mean, of course, we do know because Halo 4 is out, but you get what I'm saying. They have no way of knowing that at the time. It's like there's even at this moment in time in Halo 3, there's a complete possibility that Cortana could go rampant and just die before someone even found them. That was a complete possibility. But anyway, I think I'm going to end my ramblings of Halo 3 here. I hope you enjoyed it. I almost doubt you did, but if you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them down below in the comment section. I hope you have a great day, and peace out.
I'll miss you.
Wake me when you need me.